I'd like to introduce our first customer session today. I'm happy that we also found some lights when you have not been here for the last session. Then it was a bit dark, so I hope you don't fall asleep right now. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Anna for this session for today.
Hello, guten Morgen. Yeah, a warm welcome to this session. My name is Anna Saib, and I am working with Volkswagen Group since 2010, and I'm associated with Scania from 2016. So I moved uh, from India to Sweden in 2021 with a global assignment connected to the ALM. Uh, Yeah, currently, I am responsible for the technology stream in the big digital transformation program at Scania. With that, I will go. So today, I would like to share 4 key points. One, who we are. In the digitalization journey we are on, how we are using the ALM products in our Greenfield S/4HANA implementation, and the lesson learned so far in context of ALM products. That takes me to I guess everybody knows about Scania, right? We are the leading transport solution provider. We manufacture trucks, including buses. We also provide the power solution for industrial and marine. We are also providing financial, insurance, and rental services, so customer can focus on their core business. We have nearly 57,000 employees across 100 plus countries, and we have a presence in 100 plus countries. So the IEB, so IEB stands for Industrial ERP Backbone, and this program is responsible to implement common business processes across all the production and logistic units. So we started our journey in 2016. So in 2016, we started a study with the help of Gartner, and then we decided to have two ERP backbones in this Scania. One for industrial part and another for the commercial part. For industrial, we decided to use SAP. And for the commercial, we decided to use the Microsoft Dynamic. Then the scope in this program, we have an end-to-end processes considering the plant to manufacturing, which consists of the production and planning and the warehouse. The second is end-to-end process, which is the order to cash. Then source to pay, finance, and but obvious the master data is part of as well. In this program today, we have 470 plus people are working. So you can imagine the scope and the program in a state. So we have started a conceptual phase in 2021, and we had decided as a leading partner as an Accenture. So Accenture is helping us to build these solution templates. So we started with the small. So we learn We learn from the small releases, and then we use those learnings in the upcoming releases. So we start with the small, and then we start with the 50 users base where we implement the first release, which went live in this year, April. And this user base will grow definitely every release with the scope which we are including per release in this program. We also decided one thing, which is to use the SAP Activate as a methodology in this program. So we follow quite rigorously the SAP Activate. And the last, which is the release, the second release. So in a year, we have planned 2 releases, and the second release is going live quite soon in this month. That takes me to the next slide, was the roadmap and was the plan we have in the coming years for the IEB program. So you will hear this word quite often from me in next 20 minutes. So IEB is Industrial ERP Backbone, that's the stands for. So like as I mentioned, we started with the conceptual phase in 2021. And we decided to start as a small scope, do the proof of concept, learn from that, and then also get ready with the technical platforms, the tools, methodologies, process during this, and prepare for the releases. For the releases in 2021. So that was the conceptual phase which we used during the 2021, and 2022 we started the first release implementations. So as I mentioned, we'll have the second release go live this month, and then it will follow the same cycles every year. So we'll have the 2 releases. And then from 2024, we are planning to have an industrial rollout. So we will have a full-fledged template ready by that time. And then we are planning to implement this solution template, which includes these global end-to-end processes to roll it out for all our production units and logistic units across the globe. So IEB, we in this program work according to the SAP Activate. We rigorously follow this methodology for each releases. So that means all these phases, starting from discover till the run, we follow for each release. So beginning of the release, we see what we need to prepare, and then also we do the fit gap workshops for each release. And with these fit gap workshops, we identify the scopes in terms of the gaps as well, and then we define the list of the inventory which we required to build as a WRISE set. And then it follows all these phases. This really helps us to keep to the standard SAP best practices, and to stick to the core clean principle. So we really try to limit the custom things in the landscapes. So that's very strict to follow, try to follow, to stick to the best practices. So we do have the key meeting structures in this programs is the program incremental meetings, which we call as a PI planning. And this program increment planning and a status meeting, allowing allowing us to move forward with our plan and also address these challenges well in time as well. So this is what the kind of also connected to the our solution readiness dashboard. So that would be normally as an input we use in these different meeting actually. So if we have some challenges, if we have some risk, so that's the base which we use as an input in terms of deliverables, overall status as well, where we are. Yeah. So what I want to share, the solution readiness dashboard is the input for these different meetings. The target architectures, which you can see at the side, and the center is the S/4HANA, where we have these different processes, end-to-end processes, which are included. And we have cloud platform for an integrations, which is being used to integrate with other non-SAP systems. So you see these color lesion on the tops. So each release, we are adding the non-SAP applications, and with that, we are expanding the core S/4HANA functionality, and then it will reduce the other non-SAP applications release by release. But obviously, there are some non-SAP applications which will stay, and that we will integrate using CPI, and that's what also will help to have the end-to-end digitalization transformations. So the main thing which I want to convey here is the S/4HANA suite will expand release by release. So that central place will get expanded in the releases. So we have quite many own build on SAP application or legacy applications. That definitely today we are having some challenges working in the silos, having very specific system created for the purpose. We have different systems in the different PRUs, and that's what really we want to go away and expand the S/4HANA solutions. That will take me to the next slide. What are the different SAP components which we are using today? The S/4HANA, the 2022, that's the version which we are using. And that's the core on the top left side, you will see, that's the core which we are talking about, where we will have all common end-to-end processes in that core. The another component we have started implementations with the MDG, which is SAP Master Data Governance, which will serve the master data to the different SAP systems. So that is something which we have also started. SAP Central Finance. Today we have the non-SAP system as a financial system, but we are aiming by 2025 that non-SAP system will be replaced by the S4 and the Central Finance. Another interesting journey or exciting journey will be started with the SAP Transportation Management. So that's the another component or a functionality which we will use out of the S4 as well. We have SAP Cloud platform integrations. With that, one more thing which I can share here, we have a cloud-first strategy in Scania. So everything with these components, what we see, these all are hosted on the AWS hyperscaler. We do have an SAP PO. Initially, we have created this instance just to handle the secret objects. That was the main purpose, which we created, but we have not used so far, and we have not planned to use further as well. But we have created one instance initially in the beginning. We do have the SAP Cloud ALM. We are using this with a very limited scope at the moment. I'll briefly explain in the later slides. Tricentis Tosca being used as well for the test automations, where we want to build a set which we can run for the regression test and so on for the different test campaigns. So we started our journey with the Tricentis Tosca as well, and we are evaluating one more products from the Tricentis for the performance testing as well. The right-hand side corner on the top, the solution manager. So we use the SAP solution manager with the add-in focus build. And then we have an SAP data services being used mainly for the data load preparations and the cleansings at the moment. So these are the different components which is part of the IEB program. There are other components as well being used in this Scania, but they are out of the scope of these programs. So we have success factor, which is ongoing. That's the big program as well in this Scania. And then we do have the EWM solution and S4 for the parts logistic, and that's also quite a big landscapes that we started implementing in 2016, and all parts logistic units went live except the Brazil. So they are as well. There are other components too, apart from this. Yeah, we'll take the questions later. So tools which are being used in the program. So we do use SAP Focus Build quite extensively in the program. We have data services, then the SAP Cloud ELM. We have Tricentis Tosca. We have Avantra, that's for the system monitoring. Then for the collaborations, we use Team, and for the other purpose too. So we use Mural board, which is for the program incremental planning and also for the collaborations. For the process modeling, we have decided to use the ARIS, and that's the tools being used as well in the Volkswagen group as well. Incident and a problem management, that's we used out of the service now. And for the change request, we are using the Jira, and the business is using quite extensively Jira in different business areas. Then the JAST, that is currently being used for the SOD, the segregation of duties, and the firefighter IDs if you want to issue in terms of if there is an issue in the productions and somebody needs some special access or with a full access. So that's the tool. So these are the different tools currently being used in the IEB program. That takes me to the next slide where we will deep dive more on the focus build. Why SAP Focus Build? During the conceptual phase, we list down all the challenges which we foresee. And also we had a learning from the other program, from the Scania. So we list down all these challenges, different challenges. We know that we require to have a common way of working, a common tool which can be used across across the program, which can help to support to the methodology which we decided to use in the program. And we know that the transport movement from one environment to the another environment is also one of the big tasks. And we had an experience with when we implement SAP with the parts logistic. It's quite many people required to be involved. It's quite many things manually need to be tracked. So these all different challenges we list down, like to have a central repository for the documentations and a single source of a truth. The visibility of overall deliverables where we are, then the test management and a defect management. So these different challenges which we list down during the conceptual phase, and then we in fact evaluated at that time Cloud ALM as well. And then we found, okay, we'll be able to address all these challenges, and then answer was no. And then we decided to use SAP Solution Manager with the focus build to address all these challenges. Of course, the benefits which we got as an outcome, we have automated all the transport movement from development environment till the pre-production environment. So it's 100% automated. Of course, the production movements, we do it manually. That is being handled by the, let's say, base system. Automations of the retrofit, because we have now two landscapes, one for the project releases and one for the EMS and for the operations. And that's where it's again comes in retrofit. If we do some small changes in the operational environments, how that would be included in the project environments. And that's the retrofits part also we have automated with the help of tool. Of course, there is some exceptions wherein we have conflict, for example, so we have not. So wherein it's a green signal we have, so those all are automated with these. And then we are using solution documentations as a documentation repository. We use the complete test suits out of focus build. So all the campaigns starting from the SFT till the UAT, user acceptance test. For all these campaigns, we use the test management suite out of the focus builds, and that really helped us to have the all test cases at one place, all the progress defects tracked at the same place as well. And of course, it's connected to all the requirements and the other connected objects too. And there are other things as well. The opportunity which we see, since we have different tools being used in the program, of course, today it's a bit manual, and we have a scope there to automate definitely. And we start with the manual approach, but we are planning to automate that. Test automation is also one of the area where we want to focus, and we want to really have good set of test automation created, and that can be used for these the different campaigns, test campaigns. And then we would definitely want to evaluate SAP Cloud ALM. When is the right time for us to move as well on the ALM from the solution manager? And then SAP build enhance features. That is something which we are also evaluating. That moves to the next slide. Like as I mentioned, we have this different set of tools which is being used in the program today. But it's even though I show these arrows, but it's manual. So for the change request, we use Jira as the starting point. Once these change requests being approved by the central board, then normally the deployment or the build part start in the focus build again. Service now, that's something, let's say, problem tickets leads to have some corrections, or incidents leads to some corrections. That also comes into the focus build. So we use enhanced space for the operations today from the focus build, and then the test automation as well. So we started with the manual approach. So we thought, okay, let's learn first where we want automation later. So that's the reason we thought, let's start with the manual approach. And since we have started with the small user base, this is not a challenge at the moment for us. So that gives some space for us to evaluate, learn, and then automate later. So yeah, that's the tool it is. How Scania use focus build? So we are using the requirement, starting from requirement until the deploy. So all this being used out of the focus build. So these are the different roles which are using the focus build. Then we have the different deliverables, and the right hand side on a high level, that's the functionality which is being used, like project on a milestone level or a high level. So we don't use the complete project management functionality, but the high level milestone plan we use. Requirement, of course, we do record all the requirement as a starting point, which is our, let's say, a WRICEP or the requirement starting point. Then the solution documentations, change control, test and a defect management, and the release management. So these all functionalities being used out of the focus build. Solution dashboard. So we have created IEB as the main project, and then we have created process area as a sub project, like plan to manufacture, order to cash, finance, and so on. And then we created cross stream as well, example like test, technology, change management, which go across with these end-to-end business processes. So these we created as a sub-projects in the focus build, and these clusters we do record this and combine with the wave we used as a release. And in one wave we will have the multiple sprints, and the number of sprints varies based on the timelines actually. So solution readiness dashboard is one of the really nice place which can be a source of truth to get all these inputs and track all the deliverables where we are in this stage in the release. Deliverable status. We created a different document. I mean, we introduced the document types and the status schema to monitor the quality of the documentations, which is produced by our service integrator and track those. So we, like, for example, we have before development, after development, and once we hand it over to the operations team. So operations team is different than the development team, which is building these templates. So we have created or introduced these document types and the status schema. Release status visualization. Again, this is the dashboards for the release manager or the cutover managers, which we use to see all the change document which are created and which I mean, these change where in the which environment and so on. These something which we also see with the release dashboards. And we can also, it's a quite interactive, so we can drill down and we can see the status of each document change. Moving to the next, test status visualization. As I mentioned, we are using the test management and a defect management as well out of the focus builds. And that's really help us to keep a track of all the defects. And this also kind of during the exit criteria for the specific releases, we see, okay, what are the different defects and what is the priority for those defects and so on. So it helps to have it at one place. And it shows as well the burn down chart when we are running the different test campaigns as well. Cloud ALM, like as I mentioned, we are using with limited one. It's mainly being used for the integration, exception, and health monitoring of cloud platform integration, CPI. So that's the functionality today we are using out of the cloud ALM, and then definitely we want to evaluate further what features we can start using it already now. But that's the limited features we are using at the moment. That takes me to the last slide, the lesson learned from the in context of the ALM tool. The change management is definitely one of the major aspects from the other areas, but also from the tool perspective, it's really important because it's a new tool, new methodology for our business and for our users. So to have that onboarded in a nice way, that's something we learn to have that. Continuous training, there are new people onboarded in the program continuously. So it's really important as well to have the continuous training around these tools. So they are up to the speed, they know how to use these tools, and so on. So continuous training. Tools readiness is also something which we learn. It's really important that have all tools ready well in advance, so that can give some leverage for us to prepare a train the users which they are using the tools. Tools and a project process mapping. So it's something which is also important to have processes, and that processes being mapped with the tools. Let's say how the change process will work from an end-to-end perspective. Not just from a tool that we create and then do, but to have it that. End-to-end tool integration, definitely that's something which we want to have as an automated as well, because today it's in its manual, and that's something which is like a bit tricky because the statuses in these different tools, we don't able to really see where exactly is for the change request, especially because change requests start in the Jira, specifically for the operations. And what we learn, it's really important that we keep iterating around these tools, repeat, train, and so on. So that's something which is also really important.